communities to have fun. And so, yeah, we basically wanted to make it possible to build all the crazy ideas we came up with over the first few years of just building a wallet. And here we are.
Great. I guess I'm gonna ask a tough question. A lot of layer 2s, built on top of Bitcoin, have had a really hard time gaining traction and getting users and getting TVL. No one's really seemed to crack that egg super well yet. What gives you all an advantage, and how do you see yourselves kind of overcoming that?
That is a good question. I think they're very, very different communities, and they're also very different assets. And the reason I fell in love with Dogecoin is because I was an early Bitcoin guy, and I felt like Dogecoin was sort of carrying the torch of Satoshi's, kind of original Bitcoin vision, peer-to-peer electronic cash. Bitcoin is now an asset, it's digital gold, it is an investment, it is locked up in cold storage, it's not really used for payments. Treasury companies on the stock exchange are locking it up in cold storage. And when I talk to Dogecoin dads, for instance, they're actually going to put their Doge to work. They want to put it into the ecosystem. When you talk to Dogecoin users, they say Dogecoin is money, it's meant to be spent. We want to use Dogecoin. And so I think convincing people to start trading gold rocks again, like they did back in the day, is really tough. But the Dogecoin ethos is very much that it is money, it is cash, and so there's definitely a willingness to move it and spend it. But I think beyond that, the whole thing is a joke to begin with, and so no one's so set in their ways that we can't experiment, we can't do crazy things. I think culturally, it's much more amenable to building an ecosystem. Nobody is satisfied with just holding Dogecoin and that's it. They all want more.
Yeah, I think additionally, it's become very clear that Bitcoiners aren't that interested in depositing their Bitcoin into DeFi, right? As Jordan said, Doge is money, Doge is useful, right? People want to use their Doge. I think specifically Bitcoiners see no thing to do with it other than just leave it in a cold wallet somewhere, right? There's nothing better you can do with Bitcoin. It's just different in the Doge community.
Yeah, it's interesting how the use case for Bitcoin kind of has evolved into just doing nothing with it, right? And we're seeing a lot of ossification of Bitcoin, where getting anything done is extremely difficult, and a lot of the people holding Bitcoin these days see that as a feature and not a bug. So I think it's great that we have platforms like Doge where we can build really cool things and do it quickly. So when you're building on Doge, what do you all see as the first killer app? Where do you see the fun starting at?
I mean, we have, first off, a number of killer apps being built. I've built out a lot of the ecosystem, and I'm personally a very deep DeFi guy, and so I've been able to bring over amazing top, S-tier DeFi teams building new things that are cool. You need that as a core of an ecosystem, but Doge is fun, right? Doge is funny, and so we have a huge focus on awesome games, on different sort of earning experiences that can be fun. I'm not even sure what we can talk about here, but there's one really cool one that's a company that has the license to use Tencent's entire library of games. And so, they have a massive amount of game developers over there. They can use them outside of China. These are all games that have ads. And what these guys are doing is they're reskinning the most popular games, and they're continuing having ads on them. They're now Doge games, but users will actually be earning as they play this click game. And we think that's a really good way to get people into the ecosystem as well, right? They get something for free. So there's going to be a lot of fun in the ecosystem in addition to serious things.
I was going to say, I really like that because it's a tough sell to get people to part with their crypto, but when you're paying them with crypto, paying them with Doge, that does make it a lot more fun. On the topic of gaming, gaming is another one of those tough nuts to crack. There's been a lot of crypto gaming things that have not worked out well. Where do you see DogeOS playing into that?
I mean, I think that's a very good question. I agree. I've always been a gamer. I've never been much of a Web3 gamer, honestly. And I think it's because in general in this industry, people have focused on like Web3 first and then whatever the use case is second. And I think across the board, we've built a team that's very focused on UI UX, focused on use cases first, crypto second. And so we've thought a lot about this because we need to have some very good games. We're working on getting a number of them produced right now, but I think I've seen a bunch of stuff in the ecosystem that has never really gotten the greater ecosystem, never really gotten great distribution, but are really good ideas, and I think that's something we can help with is distribution. There was a team who was here earlier today actually called the Olympics. This is one I'm very bullish on. They have like a way of betting on skills-based games, and they have all these Polish developers all over the place who have built like really, really awesome games. And this is cool. You can play whatever this game is with your friend, and you can bet on it with them. It's legal because it's not gambling. It's skills-based, right? Use cases like that, I think if we really make a great game for it, I'd do that. I'd hit my friends up while we're watching TV and bet on whatever stupid game we're playing. You know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of the problem that the Web3 games have had is that they're simply not fun. You know, people play games that are fun and are engaging, and the ethos of Doge is about being fun, right? It started out as a joke. You know, I remember years ago, nobody ever thought that Doge would even get to a penny. And then I remember watching a TikTok video of a guy buying like 1 million Doge for a couple $100 going, if it goes to $1, I'll be a millionaire. And it got pretty close, but it didn't quite make it there. How do you see Doge's status as a meme coin and as a joke? Do you see that as a benefit, or do you see this kind of holding it back to, I guess, institutional acceptance?
I mean, I think it's definitely a benefit. I think everyone's asking themselves why we aren't onboarding another billion users into Web3, and I think it's because what most people are doing is saturated. We've already reached the people who believe in like the Bitcoin is this apex investment asset thesis. We've already reached the people who believe in like, I don't know, like serious DeFi that a normal consumer can't understand. And so I think the fact that it is a joke, the fact that it is a meme, is the path into onboarding that next billion users. It's already happening. Dogecoin onboards normies into crypto, you know, for the last 10 years, continues to do so. We just get organic downloads of our wallet of people who've heard about Dogecoin and are curious. And so I think that's absolutely the killer feature of Dogecoin. And I think in the last year, we've seen institutions start to recognize, mimetic value, I guess. I mean, we do have Dogecoin ETFs now. We do have institutions holding Dogecoin on their balance sheets. We have DATs. We have all this stuff. And so I think, that stuff is important in order to, I guess they continue to grow the financial infrastructure around Dogecoin. But I think it's most important, and it's something Bitcoin maxis really don't seem to understand, is that this is the gateway into this technology for so many people. And the higher the Bitcoin price goes and the more serious it becomes, the likelihood of onboarding some young person onto Bitcoin gets lower and lower, in my opinion. Dogecoin being a meme, it will always be a meme, it will always be a joke. That is the most likely way you're going to onboard someone, and much more so than your average meme coin someone hears about, because when that onboards someone into the Solana casino, they lose all their money immediately 99 times out of 100. Dogecoin having this sort of institutional adoption, volatility, still volatile but decreasing, I think it's kind of the perfect gateway crypto for everyone. So I think it's a killer feature for Dogecoin, but it's also kind of a very, very important thing for our entire industry.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts on this and on Doge is that it seems like it's serious, but it doesn't take itself super seriously. It's inviting and it's fun. Bitcoin, we're all Bitcoiners here, but the Bitcoin online space can be a little harsh at times. So with your permission, I'd like to shift gears a little bit. Can you tell us about the technical architecture? How is DogeOS built? Is it a fork of any other code base? And where are you at in the development?
For sure, and you mentioned something earlier about sort of the ossification of Bitcoin, and I think this is the coolest thing about what's going on in Dogecoin, because last year some developers sort of proposed, hey, what if we added some ZK capabilities to Dogecoin Core, which would allow real layer 2 ZK rollups, trustless architecture to be built on top. And we saw that and we thought, that's a really incredible path forward, because we don't want to build something that's not really decentralized or has all these trust assumptions and so on and so forth. It's not really in the ethos. And so seeing that core development, community and core developers are sort of aligned with that path forward, we did start working on building like a real ZK rollup on Doge. So it is an EVM equivalent ZK rollup. I bring up the ossification thing because a number of Bitcoin researchers, developers who have been trying to push innovation on Bitcoin for years have sort of seen what we're doing and come over to help, because they're also realizing that, look, the more this thing becomes purely an investment, the stakeholders have absolutely no incentive to experiment, which totally makes sense. Like it's nobody's fault. It kind of makes sense. Whereas Dogecoin, open to innovation.
Yeah, it's a risk.
Exactly, it's a risk, right? Why risk it? It's an investment. We just want it to go up. So Dogecoin being open to innovation has attracted a lot of development. So we're pushing research on the L1 side to kind of bring this ZK upgrade. And in the meantime, yeah, I mean, we built a EVM equivalent rollup because there's just way more apps, developers, everything in the EVM world. EVM is the most trusted amongst institutions for DeFi and so on and so forth. And if we're trying to kickstart, a real Web3 ecosystem on Doge, we just need, the most trusted tech, the biggest pool of developers, and yeah.
Where are you at today? Are you on testnet, mainnet, and I guess kind of from your last comment, is your launch and development dependent on this getting pushed into Doge mainnet, I guess? Or are you able to kind of do it independently of that?
Yeah, great question. So we've had a testnet for about a year now, but we're going to roll out the kind of like final full public testnet in the coming weeks, more or less. Don't want to put a hard date. And then, there's no hard date for mainnet, but as soon as possible, because we have so many developers building, we don't want to, do them a disservice by not getting the chain out. I mean, they're all waiting. They really believe the opportunity is in Dogecoin. We have to hurry. So I forgot the second part of the question.
I did too.
Okay.
I guess next steps, like how do you draw liquidity onto the platform? Do you approach Tether and try and get USDT Doge? Do you bridge assets? What's your go-to-market plan to get billions of dollars of activity on chain happening?
Yeah, I mean, okay, there's a few things. Ultimately, we're trying to bring Dogecoin on chain, right? It's all on exchanges. There's no DeFi. All the trading happens on the exchanges. Dogecoin holders benefit nothing from that. It doesn't help the price go up, and all the trading fees, go to a few big companies. And so there's a clear value prop for Dogecoin holders to bring their Doge on chain, provide liquidity in DeFi, actually earn yield from their Dogecoin. We are going to introduce the first real yield opportunity for Dogecoin that actually scales, which I think is kind of a no-brainer way to bring serious amounts of Dogecoin liquidity on chain. Beyond that, I mean, we are, I don't know if I can announce kind of like the stablecoin partnerships, but yeah, stablecoins are important. Let's just say there's certainly a lot of interest amongst the big stablecoin players on, being the major stablecoin paired against Doge for all of this DeFi, given that, there's a high likelihood we bring billions of dollars worth of Dogecoin into DeFi in the next couple of years, and likely one stablecoin will kind of be the default pair on Doge. So Hawk can maybe expand a little more.
Yeah, in terms of bringing partners on, like Tether or Circle or whoever, one of the things that I found very interesting is that I was a very tough sell on this idea when I was first told about it. And it took me a couple weeks to really process this opportunity and what actually the reason is that we're doing this, and now I'm one of the most bullish people in the world on it, right? But so I talk to these projects all day long. I've talked to multiple today here who are these blue chip sort of projects. They all get it way quicker than I did. I'll tell you that.
I liked it pretty fast.
Yeah, you were really into it immediately, 5 minutes ago, right? But so I think people realize that what we're doing is different than any of the other chains launching, mainly because most of the other chains, they're a little bit faster or whatever they are. Like, I'm kind of like, who cares, right? Like, nobody's using, the max TPS anyway. What we're doing is we're activating a massive asset, right? And so these blue chips are like, oh, that makes a ton of sense. There's 30, 40, 50 billion dollars of Doge sitting out there. We might as well actually activate that.
On chain, is Doge going to be the native asset that you use to pay transaction fees? Will there be a separate token? Are you doing a token sale? What's that look like?
Yeah, Doge is absolutely the gas token. The point is, it is a Doge rollup. I mean, if we launched a competing token to Doge and tried to just make it like a Doge theme thing, I think it would be a disaster. I mean, you could probably get people from Web3, but you would lose the entire Dogecoin community. So for now, there's no plans for a token. It's just Dogecoin. I mean, we believe we're building something real, and so yeah, we're going to get Doge moving. We're going to bring Doge on chain and go from there.
Cool. So you mentioned it's going to be EVM compatible. Do you all have plans to like launch Doge Swap? You know, like a Uniswap clone or anything like that? Will that be coming out of your studio?
Yeah, I mean, we've got every blue chip app you can imagine. We have like 3 forks of it, right? Honestly, I'm not that interested in that. Like, that's cool, but I'm interested in people who are innovating on stuff. So yeah, I think there's 4 Uni V3s being built. There's an Aerodrome being built. One of the cool ones is Meteora on Solana. We've got the first EVM implementation of that architecture, which is really cool. But yeah, everything that you know and love about DeFi will be there, and hopefully better, right?
Great. Anything else before we wrap up that you want to leave people with? And then I guess how can people get involved? You know, other than following you on Twitter or bridging their assets over, how can people get involved in the community? What do you all need most right now?
I mean, I think to Hoff's point, I think it's really ironic if some of the most innovative apps come and build on Doge. So you take like a really serious, innovative DeFi protocol and it launches first on Doge. We're looking for, you know, and not just innovators in DeFi and serious stuff, like creative, different stuff. I think there's always like, you know, there's a million blockchains, and sure, you kind of like run the same playbook, you have the same set of apps, and you can create like a little bit of an economy and you incentivize some builders. That's not really what we're after. Doge is different. Doge is so different and so weird. We just want the most creative builders, the most innovative builders.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of the most useful products and the best products of our, you know, current day and age are from people who are building things that they really love and really enjoy and really have fun. So I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being, you know, one of the spaces where some of the cool stuff comes out of, simply because people are having the most fun. You know,
Exactly.
Crypto is fun in general, but a lot of the other stuff, you know, is very, very serious. And it is serious. But when people are having fun and having a really good time, really cool things happen. So it's very exciting to see that. If you had to make a prediction, you know, what's over the next 5 years, what are some of the things that you could see coming out of this that don't exist yet today?
I think we have a team building the first real innovation in token launch mechanisms since like something like Pump Fund itself, and everyone's building like, oh, we have like a Pump Fund with new features, or we have this launch pad that does this, or it's like a better looking website that doesn't give you a seizure. That's cool, but it's not real innovation. And I mean, we're seeing liquidity dry up across meme coins because it's everyone losing all their money and the few
it's PvP.
popping it. Exactly. And so I think we have like a real PvE, real innovation in PvE. I think it's the only thing I've seen. I've been out there for years looking for, is anyone building something that's really innovative in how to launch tokens, not PvP. That's something I'm excited about. I would say in general, I think probably sooner than 5 years, everyone's going to look at what we did and go, man, that was really obvious. Why didn't we think of that? I think tens of millions of holders, $40 billion in liquidity, the most recognized meme in the world, the Bitcoin of memes. Why no ecosystem? I think it's obvious. I think people are starting to get it, but I think it's going to probably exceed even our expectations.
Before our chat, you mentioned that you have a lot of presence online on Twitter. You know, you're getting a lot of impressions monthly. How do you start to tap into that 40 billion? And then to wrap things up, you know, what can people do today to get involved?
Yeah, so we do have a massive amount of distribution on Twitter. We've got builders who are starting to get on board. We have this wallet, which Jordan built.
What's the name of the wallet?
My Doge.
Okay.
Which is turning into an ecosystem app, right? And there's already a lot of active users in that wallet, like maybe as many active users as exist in Web3.
That's a lot.
So I don't know how many we will move over, but any significant portion of that is a mass onboarding event of users. And I really think that is how people will see us in a few years. It's like, wow, this was really a major mass onboarding event onto Web3 of non-Web3 people. You know, jump in the Discord, follow us on Twitter, engage with us. Our team is, you know, all the time we're engaging with people. We will respond to you on Twitter. We will get on spaces with you, right? We are a very inclusive community. Join it, engage.
What is your Twitter?
It is AH0XXMAN, A Hawksman. It's like my name, but with a 0 and
What's
2
the
X's.
DogeOS Twitter?
x.com/DogeOS. You'll find us all there. And
Way easier.
I'll finish by saying the one thing we tell builders is, look, if you build something cool, what we can promise you is that millions of people will see it. And not a lot of people can promise that. But we have all the Doge world watching us. We have 500,000 users in our wallet. All you have to do is build something cool, and there's a critical mass of people ready to use it. Just build something cool.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I love what you're building. Thank you for sponsoring the event with us. Excited to have you. Take care.